Hello everybody, Stricken as a warrior, and today's video we're going to be doing another commentary. Don't worry, different videos are coming, but right now I'm focusing on, currently making commentaries. Weapon comparison is coming around. It's going to be the Damnation versus Steel Bite. I have the clip for it, just need to do some editing. In the background, you're going to be seeing me using the AS Someone Speakeasy. My challenge was to get a certain amount of kills with it, and I was really pushing uplink, and I was really pushing the objective. I picked these gameplays because I didn't play so much killer. I played objective. I lost both games, unfortunately. But that was ultimately due to my team not really pushing the objective and more just kind of being there by show than actually trying, which kind of sucked. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into today's topic of today's commentary, which is going to be violence, video games, and the media. If you pay attention to the titles of the videos before you watch them, you would have seen that already. But without further ado, we're going to jump into the topic. I like to think of myself as knowledgeable on this topic because I looked into a lot of research onto this. I looked into a lot of things, mainly to contradict people's points, and because I really I'm a fan of video games, so I like to learn as much about them as possible. And if you bring up something about video games, I like to be able to bring up my current info on it. That's just the way I am normally with other things, but that's just completely different. Anyway. We're going to move on a bit now to violence in video games, and we're going to start off with, can video games be violent? I'm going to start it off by saying yes. Video games can be violent. I'm playing Call of Duty, and you can see it's a shooter game, so I shoot people, and they die. That could be considered violent. Most people take that as violent. I would assume that it is violent, but that doesn't inherently make the game bad. For the most part, Call of Duty is a very relaxing, very fun game to mess around with your friends, except for the last two editions, which were kind of hard and a lot of people didn't like, unless you're Splash, who just for some reason adored it. I don't know why, but hey, you can't really dictate anything. Anyway, now that we went over that, a lot of speculation has been that video games can make kids violent and go do wrong things like school shootings. There has been no There's been no proof to state that the video games were the cause of the shootings, except for one instance where the kid said, "Oh, we did this because we like to play Doom." I don't know. I don't think that was the actual reasoning. I think that was just them being very stupid, to be honest. Don't think that the reasoning behind it was because they played Doom that they like went and killed people because of a video game. They may have gotten an idea from it, but they're not going to do it because of the video game. That's just my personal opinion. That's the only event where the video games have ever been confirmed by the kids. That's the reason. Every other event, ever since that event, though, way back in the day, people have always assumed that if the person plays video games, that is the cause. And that's when we get to violence in video games and the media, where the media will constantly lead you astray, making you think that video games are evil, they're bad, that they're all violent. They all make you turn to these very violent people, when in actuality they're not violent. They can be violent, but they're not going to turn you into this violent person who wants to like destroy everything, because that's not their core principle. I can only think of one game that's very unnecessarily violent, and that was that game that got really hyped up by everyone, but it turned out that it was just a classic like 2D scroller shoot 'em up for whatever reason. Didn't really think that had a point to be that violent. But there are quite a few violent games out there. There's Doom, there's Wolfenstein, there's all these different games that are quite violent and that you can play. It's just the video games for the most part will not make you turn to this violent person if you play them. Just because you play a game where you are violent, so to speak, does not mean where you have to do something violent doesn't mean you're going to turn violent because of it. There's no confirmed link to this, and the media constantly pushes the idea that there is a link or there is some evidence to prove it, when in actuality there really isn't. You can Google "do violence make video games" and you'll find people fighting both sides of the argument. I'm personally pushing the side that it doesn't, not because I just play video games, but because I've looked at the research on both sides. And I can say that violent video games can make you the teensiest. And when I say teensiest, I mean teensiest bit more violent, but not to the extent of going to do shoot up a school or kill someone or any of that. That is definitely not what video games do, because that's not their core principle. Even if the core principle of the game is to kill someone, that doesn't mean you're going to turn into a relentless killer because of it. Now, with that said, does that mean that, let's say, people get really angry and they start pulling up all different types of like contradictions and stuff, trying to like pull out the big guns on me? there is proof to both sides, and for the most part, I would say video games are beneficial to your health. Many video games can make you think more critically. Some of them make you think in different ways. Some of them challenge your mind to make you push yourself. Some of them make you think of different solutions to find out a common problem, and some of them are just plain old hard and require so much brain work it's ridiculous. While some can be casual, some can be stress relievers, and some can be rage-inducing, none of them will cause a person. I can't name a single game that will make you want to go kill people, unless, of course, it's an extremely enraging game. You're getting angry. In that case, you're not even going to go do that because you wouldn't state it before you did it, because that's just stupid. That's like saying I'm going to go beat the crap out of someone, and then you state that, and then you go to do it, but you don't, because you know someone would stop you. Because if someone is to do something something they know is wrong and immoral, they wouldn't tell someone. But that's just a completely different topic. So, can video games be violent? Yes. Do you become violent from playing violent video games? No. There's no signs that say that video games are bad. There's plenty of research that goes against it, and that go on both ways. You can really look at it from both aspects. But for the most part, from the research that I read, I would say that video games do not cause violence, but do a lot of different things that help benefit you in the end. Example, first-person shooters do make you your hand-eye coordination better, a lot better apparently, to an insane percentage, which is very, very good. Because having good hand-eye coordination makes you better at sports, it makes you better at, playing video games. I think that goes with most video games, but first-person shooters have an abnormally large number. Like, I forget how large it was, but it was a pretty big percentage. Video games video games like Portal challenge you to look at puzzles in different ways. They make you really think differently. Video games like Legend of Zelda make you look at puzzles very differently. Games like COD can be stress relievers or challenges, depending on who you play against. Obviously, you can get into like a league, I don't know, like if you're playing a ranked or something. It's going to be a lot harder if you're playing normally, because that's where all the quote-unquote pro players and tryhards play, and that's not really the place to be if you just want to play and mess around in COD. Which is really the core function of what made COD so well, was just its casualness and not its crazy tactics required to play a game like Halo or Battlefield, which are now Battlefields in Halo, and most first-person shooters trying to be like COD, while COD is trying to be like different first-person shooters, which is interesting. That's an interesting topic in itself, which I may talk about another day, but for the most part, that's getting off topic, like I stated, so I'm going to have to stay on topic. So, violence, video games, and media. So as I stated before, the media likes to lead you astray with the idea of violent video games. Media outlets commonly state that video games are very, very bad things for young kids. I played video games as a young kid. I played Mario, I played Legend of Zelda, I played Donkey Kong, I played Sonic. I played many, many video games, and I was a very, very smart person, I would say. I was a very smart kid for the most part. Very, very, I didn't really I kind of hid from the world in some senses, but I wasn't like a dumb kid. I wasn't, blah, 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 or any of that. I would consider myself pretty average back then. This topic is definitely controversial in itself. You can really go both ways. But from the research, like I stated before, that I have read, and I have even done an article on this subject, does kids become violent from video games? No. Definitely not. That is my personal opinion. That's from the research I read. That is from very many times of reading it. This isn't just like from one article. This is from many articles. This is from me thinking, me running it over through and through again, and just altogether just contemplating and thinking. So, to wrap up today's video, do video games make you violent? No. Can video games be violent? Yes. Are video games bad? Nope. By no stretch of the imagination, video games are not a bad thing. They're not a evil thing. They're very good, very, very nice, and they're definitely great time passers. That's all for today's video. If you did enjoy, please like and subscribe. There's nothing, I don't know what my next video will be about, so don't patronize me. I did mention some things at the beginning, but those are not confirmed. So, without further ado, goodbye. Bye.